Welcome to the Oklahoma Memo for Thursday, December the 18th, 2025. My name is Ryan Welton, and I'm the founder and curator of Oklahoma Memo, your daily local news recap focused on Oklahoma. We are a little bit of everywhere. It's an email newsletter that hits your inbox at 7 a.m. You can sign up at oklahomamemo.com/subscribe. That's all you get from me is that one email every day. I suppose if there were huge breaking news, I would send you another one. But really, the platform itself limits me to 2 per day. So it's like the Barney Fife of email newsletters. If you remember Andy Griffith, he only had one bullet. I'm only sending you one email a day, and it's going to hit your inbox 6 days a week at 7 a.m. And this video, we sort of go over what's in the newsletter and anything that's breaking this morning. We're not only in that newsletter, we have a Substack. We got a new subscriber this morning. I'm so grateful. I sent that person an email. I don't know them, I don't think, but I'm so grateful. We're on Substack. We're also on Patreon. And I say we, it's me. My name is Ryan. I have a business called Doable Digital Media, and this is one of my core content platforms, Oklahoma Memo. The goal is to get you connected to vetted journalism as quickly as possible. So I don't even like to dilly-dally in this video. Let's just start with anything that's breaking this morning. And I'm watching News 9 on here. I worked for News 9 and News on 6 for a whole bunch of years. Got Lacey Swope on the TV. She's showing the drought monitor right now. There is a wildfire risk. I was good friends with Marty Logan when we were at News 9, and he was chasing out in northwestern Oklahoma. And I'm looking at the fire threat zone up in Woodward and Alva. He's retired, but I also could see him, getting active on a day like today and just knowing what he would tell us, how to prepare wildfire danger. Lacey's showing it on TV right now. Remove your underbrush, your debris, your leaves, make fire breaks, prepare equipment. Wind gusts to 50 miles an hour today. Humidity, only 6%. So it's super dry and it's going to be warm. And next week, I saw highs in the 70s, in the middle 70s. And I tell you, just in my experience in Oklahoma, that is a recipe for wildfire danger. And I know a lot of folks, including a very good friend of mine who was severely impacted by wildfires this year. It is no joke. So that's the breaking news this morning. The breaking news from last night, if you watched it, President Trump in his address to the nation. Now, I'll tell you, I'm not a public speaking critic, but he was rushing a little quickly. He was rushing. He was yelling a little bit. But I also understand that the networks didn't give him a lot of time. So he was trying to power through it. And if you've ever used a teleprompter, you can adjust the words per minute. It seemed like he had it a little bit high, but he was just trying to reset for 2026 and talk about what he's accomplished in 2025. Regardless of how you feel about him politically, that was his take on the year that was. If you watched the speech, let me know what you thought. Again, I just have to tell you, I wasn't a big fan of the presentation. I thought he was yelling at us. So there you have it. Headlines from Oklahoma Memo. We usually have 1, 2, or 3 big stories. And I feature those from publications that have republication agreements such that we can actually include those in the newsletter. I'm a rule follower, and we have to do that. And the number one story I included from yesterday came from Oklahoma Voice and the great Nuria Martinez-Keel, one of my favorite reporters, Oklahoma Voice. This one is about OMES getting a new director. Now, OMES was led by Rick Rose for many years, and I've never met Rick personally, but I have friends of friends who say he was a great dude. This is the third leader of office and management and enterprise services in his in the past 3 months, because Rick resigned, and then David Ostro was added as a temporary replacement, and now you have Mark Wood, who was the Oklahoma tax commissioner. He's now the director of OMES. So you say, why is this a big deal? What is OMES, the Office of Management and Enterprise Services? Well, it's a big deal because they basically, they're the entity that makes the government run. And I know that that's super vague, but let me see if I can't give you a little bit more information. They make the core services of the state government run. It's not a chief of staff exactly, but they are sort of the operations center, if you will. That's a terrible description. If you're watching this and you're like, I'm looking for something that's a little bit better explainer. Well, I owe you a video on that one, so let me get back to you on that. The other big story today, though, comes from KOSU, and it is about the partnership between local law enforcement and federal authorities with regard to ICE arrests in the state. This comes from Sierra Pfeiffer at KOSU, the lead. In Oklahoma, local jails and other lockups are being used to facilitate about half of the state's immigration arrests. So, um, when the president decided that he was going to go town to town, up and down the dial, and lock up or deport immigrants, the idea was that the federal government would do that and that local authorities wouldn't be the ones to have to sort of turn on their own and really take away their focus from what their day-to-day already was. KOSU is citing a study that comes from Prison Policy Initiative. I don't really know that much about them. But what researchers found, and this is from KOSU, they found that agreements between ICE and local law enforcement have become an essential part of increased deportation efforts under the Trump administration. Okay. The collaborations allow state police, troopers, and corrections officers to act as local arms of the National Immigration Enforcement Agency, carrying out arrests at a growing rate. This doesn't seem to be any different than what local deputies do to evict people from their homes. They are sort of an arm of landlords, if you will. So that story there is from KOSU. My goal, I want you to come to Oklahoma Memo and get all of your, do your headline skimming there. But I eventually want you to go to these other newsrooms because KOSU is such a valuable part of the news ecosystem. And Oklahoma Voice, the up-and-comer, they've been great. They're the newsroom of the year, if you will. They've just been fantastic this year. And both of them with the big stories of the day on Oklahoma Memo. I offer some quick national links in every edition, including a link to the story that covers the president's speech from last night. A story from The Hill, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, formerly Secretary of Defense, overhauling the chaplain corps, targeting new age concepts. I'm sure that is a ploy to make conservative Christians happy. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino is going to step down in January. Kash Patel is, of course, the director of the FBI, but Dan Bongino will probably go back to podcasting. It's probably a lot more lucrative. Mike Johnson under pressure, with some suggesting he's lost control of the United States House. That's from ABC News. I tend to check NBC News, ABC News, CBS News, Fox News, MS Now, The Hill, Politico, The Guardian. I'll look at Drudge Report and see what links they have out there. And then I end the national links for this morning with news of the death of Gil Gerard. How many of you my age watched Buck Rogers? How many of you had a crush on Aaron Gray? That was quite the show back in the day. I'm surprised that I didn't become a sci-fi fan after that, but I loved Buck Rogers. That was amazing as a kiddo, and I'm sad to hear that he passed. The Oklahoma Rundown. If you're in the newsletter, if you're watching along with me here on oklahomamemo.com, this is the place where I gather links. Sure, AI could do this. Sure, create a GPT to do this on your own if you want to. However, what I do is I go to each one of these sites and I look at the stories not only for importance to you or impact on you, but I actually look at the story and see if it was well written, see if it was well done, see if it comes from a reporter I trust. There are a lot of reporters that I trust and a lot of newsrooms that I trust. And when I started Oklahoma Memo, I was including links from everywhere. Well, over the year, I've honed it down to a handful that I really trust. And the lead story in the Oklahoma Rundown comes from the Oklahoma Eagle. Gary Lee is a friend of mine, and the Oklahoma Eagle is now part of Tulsa Flyer. And I love all those folks up there. And this story is about Mayor Monroe Nichols in Tulsa talking about his campaign promises, housing, and 2026 goals. And I believe that interview was with another good friend of mine, Jason Collington, the great Jason Collington. And so I hope that you will go out there and look at that story from the Oklahoma Eagle. There's also a story here, and I want to talk about this just a little bit more. This is from Oklahoma Voice, about Oklahoma Mental Health Department exploring privatizing some behavioral care centers. There's a tendency in government, especially Republican government, to want to privatize entity instead of making them public. And whatever you think of government bureaucracy. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. It's probably not more than it is, but privatization is also not necessarily the answer, um, because that it creates a profit motive. And really, when you have behavioral care centers, you want the motive to be the patient, caring for the patient. The lead from Oklahoma Voice. The Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services is considering privatizing 4 of its behavioral health facilities. The state agency issued a request for proposals on Friday seeking providers to serve as certified behavioral health clinics in certain areas of the state, taking over from state-run facilities. But there is some concern over the jobs of state employees who currently work at the state-run clinics and expanding the state's behavioral health clinic model while struggling to fully fund what currently exists. Now, on one hand, it's not like you have a huge tax base here in Oklahoma to be able to fund that. So that might be a point in favor of privatizing. On other hand, I think we can't take our eye off the ball and forget that patients are who come first in this case. Other headlines: the State Department of Education to develop new social studies standards after the court decision to quash Ryan Walters' social studies standards. So again, history first. Broken Arrow residents will vote on a $415 million bond in April. Here's what it would fund from the Tulsa Flyer. Just taking a quick look at the story from Tulsa Flyer, one popular item included the construction of a new public library to replace the South Broken Arrow branch. I love libraries. How could you go wrong with that? A whole bunch more headlines in the Oklahoma Memo. I hope that you will go out there and take a look. One concerning headline, this came from KJRH, 2 News Oklahoma. Some small businesses report 40% sales drop during crucial holiday season. I sort of, I debated in my mind whether or not this was a good story for them to do, and that is that really reflective of all businesses? Who did they talk to? Where did they get this? On the other hand, I kind of appreciate that put that out there so that we consumers could do something. We still had time to do something. We want small businesses in Oklahoma to succeed. So shop local, and if you haven't done your Christmas shopping yet, maybe go check out those folks mentioned in the KJRH story and show them some love. There is a story from KXII. The wildfire risk is not only contained to northwest Oklahoma, it's also in southern Oklahoma. The headline from KXII: Love County wildfire sparks safety warnings. Just be careful today, folks. Really be careful. The weather today, it's going to be mid to upper 50s, warm. It felt warm when I went outside this morning and sent my wife off to work. And it's going to be a good day. Oklahoma, Alabama tomorrow night. No news on the injury front. It seems like the Sooners are getting healthy at the right time. Fingers crossed. I posted my prediction to TikTok. The channel is Ryan Is That Dude. I'm a Boomer Sooner all the way, and I'm excited. The Thunder, you see the Thunder cap right there? Thunder are back in action tonight against the L.A. Clippers. The Clip Show, Kawhi Leonard, coming to Paycom Center. That's all I've got for Thursday. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of these, how I could make them useful, more useful to you. I know one thing I could do is slow down. I'm talking too fast. I'm really stumbling over my words, but I appreciate your patience with me. Find me at oklahomamemo.com/subscribe or latch on to what I'm doing at Patreon or Substack. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.